Formula 3 and Formula 2 and Formula 1 have happened. And yeah, I don't think, let's see, Formula 3. Oh, something really good that happened in Formula 3 is where Dino Beganovic started. So yeah, we go. I don't know why, but he qualified 14, but because of reason he got promoted to P12. So he started in pole position. So it's like he got 3 points from this sprint race. But I would say nothing much happened. I think Lindblad, Mini, they maybe succeeded to get past people, but it was really just driving after each other. Dino Beganovic tried to get past Bedrin. He didn't succeed. And then this other guy, Intrathak, I don't know his name, but he got past Beganovic. But he finished P3, better than nothing. Then Formula 2 was more interesting because people started with hard and soft. So the people on the soft were fast in the beginning if you didn't take care of your tires in the race. You started to fall off, like Bortoletto, Antonelli, Beerman, Paul Aron, Victor Martins. They just they could keep driving. Only Kushmaini and who more? Hadja maybe start on soft. Wait. What nation? Oh, Veshore. Where is he? So he got disqualified? What? Latest news. Yeah, Veshore disqualified from Budapest sprint race. Why? Why did he got disqualified? Was a report by the FIA technical delegate indicated that the plank on car. Okay, so that's why. So that's why he isn't. Okay, so Kushmaini won the race. Let's see how. Oh, there we should see the standings. Because Mini Lindblad didn't get any points, and Luke Bryan got some points. So the fight for Luke Bryan is looking better. You can say for Froneroli also. And in the beginning, he get at least 8 points free, I believe. Let's see, 8. Yes, 8. And he can maybe get some more points. So maybe after that race he will have 90 points. Better than nothing. Paul Aron. No, Hadja extended his lead. Bortoletto Calapinto didn't get any points, and Maloney failed his start, so he didn't get any points. Yeah, but now the more interesting thing. Wow, this is practice 3. It looks like the qualifying. It's not far off. Yeah, I don't think so much happened in practice 3. Then maybe they ended here. But the interesting thing, so as always, Sergio Perez crashed out in the start. But he can celebrate. He out-qualified George Russell in a Mercedes. That's something. And Lewis I keep out-qualifying Sergio Perez. Oh shit. And Lewis Hamilton was almost out-qualified by Nico Hülkenberg. If he was slightly faster, he could have pushed down Lewis Hamilton to B11. So he could start the race with Valtteri Bottas, but that didn't happen. Then Yuki Tsunoda crashed in the Q3, so he didn't get any time, and then Ricciardo could make a time, so he passed Yuki Tsunoda. Then we Fernando Alonso, Lance Stroll, Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, Carlos Sainz, and then we have Max Verstappen that didn't try to do one more lap. And I don't think Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris could even do faster. So the end of the qualifying was really lame. First it was red flag, so nothing happened. And then when stuff could start happen, nothing happened. So yeah, so let's start. We can have that on. Oh wait, no, we need to write this first. 1928, 2700. So we are 772 tropical fishes left to collect. So let's go and collect one fast, and then we can start reacting to Autosport P1. Well, we're probably nothing happy to listen to about Sir Paris. And Peter Reserve will probably also say something about. Oh, Trident. Oh shit, Trident is where Mashore is driving for. So they fail. Come on. God damn it. But leave the fucking grass. The seagrass. Fuck off. Oh my god, fucking retarded. No Trident. Okay, one fish for the collection. The first fish for today. Let's see first. Yeah, okay. Fast, we gotta go fast. Okay, 1000, what was it? 1028, so soon 2000. Soon 2000 tropical fishes collected. Oh, come on. At least one. Could that be the first one? I mean, it could have been if it was actually tropical fish I wanted. Nope. Still no tropical fish. Come on, dolphin, help me out with tropical fishing. Oh yeah, oh, one more Trident. So Landooooo pole position with Oscar Piastri. So hopefully they will not collide into each other. But will this be one more race when Landooooo should 100% win the race and he doesn't? Oh, one more Trident. Nice. And yeah, can Max Verstappen do something in the race? Hopefully it will be warm, so Mercedes will be really bad. And hopefully Sergio Perez can do something from his position. Maybe use all the soft he have. I mean, he probably what he can do. You know, don't do any long runs. Just put on the soft and just be fast. Do like do like he did in Baku in think maybe 2021. He just drove by people one after one. Yeah, one after one. What the fuck do you say? One after another. Okay, we got a Trident, but we don't get any tropical fish to collect. But I really hope he will have a... The qualifying was maybe really bad, could have been really good if he didn't lose control of the car. But I hope the race will be... Oh, there we have the first fish for the day. One more fish for the collection. Spotted blue white. Oh my god, that scared me. So now we can start with a video. McLaren front row lookout. F1 qualifying news, Hungarian Grand Prix Saturday. Yeah, let's see what the P1.
Alex, we're here at Hungaroring Saturday, just after qualifying.
Yes.
Quite an exciting session, lots to talk about. Let's kick
The ending was lame.
us off looking at our pole sitter, Lando Norris. Quite a good performance from him, didn't put a wheel wrong, unlike some of the others, which we'll get onto later.
Sorry, Perez.
Absolutely, Ben. I thought that was, very impressive from Lando Norris. You know, particularly coming off a race like Silverstone, there's been a lot of chat, some of it from us at Autosport, about mistakes that McLaren have made. So, yeah, I think it was a resounding response from Norris. I just thought it was interesting in the press conference that neither McLaren driver seemed particularly happy. I think there's a certain element of, maybe, probably from their point of view, justified frustration with the media, but equally, you know, they're probably aware now the job's only half done.
Yeah.
You know, it is quite hard to overtake at this track. Practice, the Red Bull did look better over the long run.
Hopefully, so Perez can succeed with getting by.
We just, you know, we've seen that things can go wrong from McLaren. I'm not saying they will, and hopefully they've learned from those mistakes. So yeah, but it was just found it an interesting mood. Although, as we'll come on to, Max Verstappen, there's just an air of agginess, I guess, an air of unhappiness in the paddock at the moment.
An air of agginess. I like that. I like that. That's pretty much a fair way to describe. I think we're probably at the stage where people are ready for the summer break. This traditionally was the final race.
So Perez is probably not ready for summer break.
People had the break and 2 weeks to go and see their families and everything. We've had a lot of races. Maybe it's a culmination of all that. You know, it's also been very hot here, hasn't it, as well? So maybe a few people are ratty. It is interesting. You mentioned Max Verstappen. He wasn't happy either. You know, a mixed weekend for him, really. And it's been rare that we've had the chance to say that. So
yeah, very much so. I mean, first of all, a certain element of he hates to lose, and I can understand that. You know, no driver that has been in the position that he was. Think about this race a year ago. He won by 33 seconds over Lando Norris. Now he's lining up third. But yeah, just with Max, I think there's the other element to it is obviously he's running the big Red Bull update. What has been described, what we know is the most significant update.
Man, that would be depressing if Sir Perez got a new update and then he crashed with it.
Of the season so far, and it has worked. It's not worked enough. It's not got them back on terms, but back where they want to be. You know, extending things in the championship, or just on pure pace at least. So yeah, I think there's an element of Max must just feel like, you know, I think there's a sense of frustration because he knows that it's very hard to bring serious updates in season, and it's clearly not got him back where he was expecting, so I think there's a little bit of disappointment. What I would say as well is let's just wait for tomorrow because it's expected to be much hotter, and you've mentioned the temperatures, like it is thankfully much cooler. We've survived a little bit better, but yeah, I don't know, do you think he's getting a little bit ahead of himself now?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, a little bit of frustration. It's always different when his dad comes to races. We've mentioned this before in our copy, but his dad's here and maybe he feels that there's more pressure perhaps to deliver. It's very difficult to put your finger on it at the moment, I think, but it's a sense of him maybe coming to terms with he's not getting everything his own way, and he's increasingly seeing those McLaren guys, you know, close and obviously now ahead of him. So I think for me, coming back to McLaren, it's quite interesting at the start of the week. Lando Norris was very bullish in his press conference. You know, he was adamant that he didn't really care what people were saying about him and, you know, the squandered opportunities. And, you know, as far as he was concerned, he was doing all he can to win. I think the proof now is on him, you know, proof in the pudding. Well, let's see what you can do tomorrow. You're starting on pole. Mentioned weather, let's talk about that again. Obviously, the McLaren car seems to go quite well in all conditions.
If I could just jump in, that's a key point actually, because Max was asked, you know, is the sort of the balance, the handling on your car, is it just a little bit almost peaky, you know, harder to get exactly as you want it, sort of a narrow operating range, whereas the McLaren, more of an all-rounder, key part of the question. Max was like, yeah, that's I've been saying that for a while, obviously internally with the team, and I think that's where his frustration has come from, that he basically said he felt his laps were good, and objectively they are good. It's just not good enough to get pole position.
Let's talk about Sergio Perez. You know, a mistake, and he's in the wall. You know, worst possible time. He needed to have a clean weekend. Ironically, was looking quite good in final practice, and we thought, well, hang on, maybe things are going to come good for him. And of course, worst possible time. You know, he's got 2 races to really impress and hammer home that contract which he has signed. But of course, you know, the performance clause and everything else which goes with it, he really does have to start delivering, and he's only increased more pressure on himself by going out in Q1 today.
Oh, massively.
Oh, this fucking song. Fucking so retarded. Fucking yellow tang. Do I don't even... Don't know if I even have collected that. Let's put that down. Skip it. Yes.
You know, he's got upgrades as well that presumably have been potentially destroyed in that accident, so it's quite significant. He'd say he had a bit of leg pain, so we hope he's okay there. But things were looking better. Like I studied his long runs in FP2. He was the class of the field. Now there was to explain the difference to Max, there was a specific thing going on which...
So yeah, hopefully this long run stuff can make Perez be a god with the tires in the race.
Was most teams got their drivers to go out and one would take one approach and one would take another, which was in Perez's case, go off as hard as possible, don't necessarily do much tyre saving. I know this is your favourite chat.
Yes, I love it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Can't wait for tomorrow's tyre saving.
Exactly, it's going to be hotter, so you're going to get more of that. But yeah, whereas Verstappen was treat it a bit gentle, ease it in, see what happens with the degradation. So that sort of explains why there was an unusual discrepancy in long run pace. But again, Max saying, oh, my long runs, not brilliant. So yeah, it's sort of a frustration on every side of it for Verstappen, as it were. I mean, you spoke to Sergio in the pen. What was his demeanour like?
He's interesting because as far as he's concerned, everything's fine. You know, nothing changes as a result of qualifying, and of course he's right. He needs to deliver in the race. That's where it matters. But of course he faces such an uphill struggle now to make it count. Not an easy place to overtake. You know, he's made life hard for himself.
He can make it easy.
Let's see what happens tomorrow. Fingers crossed he has a good one, and we can sort of reflect a little bit more on just where he is after the race. But one, you mentioned air of agginess. I'm going to bring this back. George Russell.
Oh yes.
TV pen, and then doing the mix zone afterwards, he was angry. You don't often hear George Russell being angry, but he was a little bit frustrated. Frustrated, I think, you know, the mistake that he made and not hooking it up, and he's
getting out qualified by Perez. I mean, that can't be happy.
And then of course the rain. The car was under-fueled, he wasn't able to do a second lap, so a little bit of frustration for him going out in Q1.
Yeah, I think what amplifies that is that this track is so short, it's so slow speed compared to, say, places like Spa that we're going to next weekend. So there's the sense that if you get everything right here at this track of all places, especially in what at that point when George was knocked out were mixed conditions, anything is possible, even if you don't have a McLaren, which is clearly the quickest car at the moment, or already the Red Bull. So yeah, I think there's probably an element of that wrapped in there with George. But yeah, it was interesting. He barely spoke in the pen.
He was 90 seconds, I think he was talking for.
Very unusual for George.
Yeah.
Love him, loves the chat, which is always much appreciated.
Yeah, he was kind of whisked away, but you could sense that his frustration was there, and one of them, we need to talk before I shoot my mouth off to you guys, we need to find out what went wrong. So, yeah, very interesting dynamic there. So, faces an uphill challenge, just like Sergio Perez tomorrow. We should also mention Yuki Tsunoda as well. That was a bit of a big, interesting shunt, wasn't it? The car seemed to, you know, hit the curb and come off at a funny angle.
Oh yeah, he was almost flying. Got some airborne.
He went to the medical centre, should be past fit to race, but you know, a bit of a concern.
Yeah, I would expect so on being past fit to race, but it just was a bit. You don't like to see a driver quite clearly so upset with himself or upset with the situation. And we know this about Yuki. He's a very emotional character, and I think you've seen that at various points in the season. Like even yesterday in practice, you know, there's his engineers going, right, go ahead of a fast lap in practice. Because don't rush me. And it's like, oh, okay, there's something going on here. And look, we know it's all linked to the Perez thing. We know there's a lot of potential speculation on Red Bull changing its seat after the summer break, and with Perez having that happen today, looks more likely. And you know, Tsunoda's he said it outright on Thursday. It'd be weird if Liam Lawson were to go direct from not racing into the Red Bull seat, or he's left at RB. But today, I think, proves why. You know, the pressure was on. Tricky situation. You've got all those elements that I mentioned earlier about what's possible. Like RB were very good. They looked pretty bad yesterday.
Yeah, Daniel Ricciardo did well.
And how was it?
Q3. He was cock-a-hoop, shall we say.
He was.
Yes.
Right.
He was one of the rare people that come through who was happy, delighted, kept it clean, did enough. Knows that he's got 2 races to really put himself in that box seat to get that Red Bull gig. And you've got to say, on the balance of today's performance, you know, he's done everything right. You know, could he be in with an outside chance of getting that gig?
I mean, I would think so. Look who's still in charge of the team, considering everything that happened at the start of the year, Christian Horner, and we know very much Ricciardo's his man. The situation there is that someone's going to miss out. I get the sense that something's going to happen. There's enough of a narrative with, or enough of a situation with Perez, Lawson knocking on the door, that someone's going to go. It'll either be Lawson in Red Bull or Lawson in RB.
I mean, if Perez doesn't succeed, well, maybe time to join a new team. Williams or maybe Audi. Stake F1 team Kickstarter. That would be something.
That'd be my fence-sitting prediction.
Okay, thanks ever so much. Let's see how it goes tomorrow. I'm really excited to see. If I could trouble you for a prediction, how do you think it's going to go?
I reckon McLaren 1, McLaren 2, and Max Verstappen 3rd.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go for McLaren 1. I think Max 2, Piastri 3.
Okay, so you reveal
McLaren. Say Lennon.
your McLaren 1 then.
Let's see. Yeah. Let's see who's right.
Sounds good.
Okay, check tomorrow. Cheers.
Yeah. Let's go to P1. Let's see what he think about Sergio Perez and Yuki Tsunoda.
What happened in qualifying for the
Hungarian
Grand Prix? Okay,
Don't know.
Shall we start? Shall we dive straight into it?
Yes, Sergio Perez fans, look away now.
Q1 out was Perez, Russell, Zhou, Ocon, and Gasly. Now, obviously, the biggest talking point has to be categorically Sergio Perez.
Yes.
Tommy,
I can't believe it.
I couldn't believe it either. It just, I know it was difficult conditions. It was a bit slippery out there, but it can't be Perez that is the one to bin it. Like it happened in Silverstone, happened again here. He's in a rut now that I don't think he can get out of. Christian Horner has said many different things of how he's tried to manage it. He's had him over his house, said what's wrong, how can we help, what can we do? But the problem is, and we've said this before because this isn't the first time Perez has crashed, he is affecting the team, not just with the points that he's collecting, which is very little, but also the money, the cost cap. Formula One teams have to be very careful with how they spend their money, and Perez has destroyed his car once again. And this is now hurting Red Bull. They said a few mistakes before this that it was going to be costing them if there's too many crashes. We are now into that. I think there's going to be, I genuinely believe there's going to be a change in the summer break now. I can't see anything else.
The problem is, right, we're not in the situation anymore where Max can win the Constructors' title on his own. I don't think he can now. He can't. Not because before he was just winning every race. It didn't matter if Perez was crashing or finishing 17th because he'd win every race. Max is not going to win every race this year now. Like, he's not. And he's
not going to win every race, but even if he does, McLaren look like they could easily sort of secure a lot of second and thirds, and a lot of second and thirds are more points than first.
Exactly. And
it is.
Yeah, McLaren are doing an unbelievable job. Like I say, they've scored more points than Red Bull in the last 6 races, and there's still a hell of a lot of races to go. So I don't see how he comes back from this now.
So let's explore what a lot of people have been discussing, which is this Perez's last race at Red Bull? I don't think it's his last race. I think it could well be his penultimate race, genuinely now. This is, being locked out in Q1 is one thing, but we've already spoken about it. This is the worst situation for him to have crashed as well. And I think Horner will lose his patience. But anyway, let's move on from Perez now, because we speak about him every week, but he keeps making headlines, and sadly, we still have to talk about it.
Well,
so let's move on to another disaster class, and that was from George Russell and Mercedes. Now, I don't know if we missed something here, Tommy, because of course we were on the move. We might well have missed the intricacies of why George Russell was in the pits, but for me, it seemed like he just went for an early run on the softs. Mercedes thought it was enough, and it wasn't. Perhaps they also thought that there was going to be some weather, because the weather was threatening as well. But either or, it's an absolute disaster for Russell to be starting behind Perez, who binned it.
Yeah, but that's for me, it's somewhat you can be happy with. Sergio Perez go and crash in Q1, still out qualifying George Russell. God damn it. 6-second ad, sure.
It's always a risk in those conditions. It's easy to go, oh, it's raining, the track's going to get worse. But when it's a light drizzle, we've seen this so many times, the form can change. Sometimes, even just in a bizarre way, if it's a sprinkling of rain, they can still go faster because the track's rubbered in, even if it's like raining a little bit. So like in those situations, from just, I know like these teams want to take risks and save tyres and all this kind of stuff, but the sensible choice for anyone that has watched Formula One for years and years, in those kind of sessions, you just have to keep lapping and lapping and lapping and lapping, because the track evolution is changing every single second.
Anything wrong.
Let's go to Q2 then, shall we? It's Hülkenberg, Bottas, Albon, Sargent and Magnussen out. One of the big talking points was, of course, Hamilton very close to being knocked out, only 0.01 ahead of Hülkenberg, so he scraped through, to say the least. But I'm also going to put some respect on Logan Sargent's name, who I know he didn't have the cleanest of qualifying sessions, knocking his front wing off and having a massive both fronts lock up into turn 1, but a 10th off Albon. That is solid.
I think what could save Logan from a replacement in the summer break, even though his form was quite bad, was the fact that Williams need a driver for next year, and unless they are going for a Formula 2 driver, who's then going to be in the car next year, it would seem odd to like give someone half a year and then basically be like, all right, now we change it again. They'd either want that driver to go early in for next year to learn with Williams, or like there's no point replacing Logan, in my opinion, if they can't get the driver they want in next year, basically.
Okay. Tommy is now Logan Sargent's biggest fan.
I am now James Vowles.
That's it. You are JV. Love to see that. A good performance from Bottas once again. Joe being knocked out in 18th. I'm sure someone will let us know about what happened in his qualifying. But Bottas had a great performance up in 12th. Has to be said. Like, Sauber are taking steps forward. It's just whether both of their drivers do that each weekend. But yes, I think Sauber can be quite happy with their progress. Williams as well, sort of, they'll fight for a point tomorrow potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah, not too much to report with Q2. Let's go to Q3 then, shall we? Of course, yeah, McLaren 1-2. Verstappen third, still thrusting that car into a position perhaps it doesn't deserve to be in, but I did think at one point in Q3, oh my God, he's done a 15.5. It's all over again, Verstappen on pole until Norris put in one of the greatest first sectors I think anyone's ever seen. Let's go with the first question. Jack Mawini 2. Do you think McLaren will get the strategy correct this time?
They will not.
So that's the important thing here, is that it is all to do with strategy to secure that 1-2. Obviously, they need the win. They need the win. A 1-2 is an optional bonus, but I think it's not too much of an optional at this stage with how many points they've thrown away. Verstappen being in third means that they can be aggressive, especially to get past Piastri, that we know does struggle with tyre wear and longer races. And if it is going to be a hot, nursing your tyres kind of run.
That could save Lando Norris maybe to an easy win. Oscar Piastri succeed to do a really good start and keep Max Verstappen behind enough time so Lando Norris can have a good race.
That we expect it to be. Oscar might well struggle a little bit more than Lando, so keeping Max at bay is going to be very difficult. That being said, it shouldn't be too difficult of a race to call from a strategy perspective if we get just the normal.
I think you called it perfectly in the Silverstone one where you said McLaren aren't the underdogs anymore, and because Max is so good, and it is literally the Max Verstappen meme of like feeling like he's always there. You look at that grid and you can see Max winning, even though realistically he shouldn't have a chance. It should be the easiest McLaren 1-2
He's
all
up
day
against
long.
two McLarens. Like, to beat one, fine, but both of them.
And the weird sort of narrative that you always push when you've got two cars, and it's what we use for Perez and going, oh, where's Perez? But in a weird way, Max can just focus on his own race. McLaren could get in a bit of a pickle if Piastri takes him at the start. Lando's, has to be said, has had pretty poor starts recently. He's lost places. Oscar's had very good starts. So if Oscar gets ahead of Norris, then they get in an awkward situation where Norris could probably be quicker.
Yeah, the awkward position when Oscar Piastri is in the lead can't keep the tyres alive. Lando Norris can keep the tyres alive, but is now driving behind Oscar Piastri. They will maybe ruin his tyres more. And then Max Verstappen also have an easy win.
We've seen that in the races, normally quicker in the races, but then Piastri will be like, well, I want to win the race.
Yeah.
I've shown that I can deliver. He did at Silverstone. We said it in our drive ratings that he was robbed, really, of a victory. He could have easily won that race. And then if that situation arrives, who do they pit first? Is Piastri going to be cooking his tyres and blocking Norris? It could, in a weird way, be a disaster that they're together, or it could be the perfect situation where they work together. That's what makes it so exciting.
So yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how Oscar Piastri plays it, because we know that he is one of the most aggressive men on the first sort of 5 to 10 laps of a GP. He is Ayrton Senna. Like, he is just unbelievable. Then he takes the pain a little bit later. So it is going to be interesting to see how he plays that. He wants that first victory so badly. He'll know if he gets through on Lando around Hungary, he's got a great chance of winning. Next question, Mr. Bear 15. Is the Mercedes W15 awful again? It's not terrible. They messed up with Russell.
They were never good. At least in the warm weather and apparently this qualifying. I mean, the only reason why they won in Austria, thanks to Lando Norris and Max Verstappen, and then Silverstone thanks to McLaren. And maybe Max Verstappen because he ruined his floor.
Should have fueled him up. He would have got into Q3. He's been better than Hamilton in qualifying this year. I don't think it's awful. I think it's just a case of it's not a McLaren. It's not going to turn up every single race and be right at the front.
Yeah, it's not. They're certainly not an awful car. They're still in that Formula A easily. And there will be other tracks that we go to. Spa,
Formula
for example,
B
is more like your Silverstone.
Max Verstappen is Formula as McLaren is Formula A. Mercedes and Ferrari Formula B.
But Hungary couldn't be any more different, and we can't all have the luxury of McLaren that seems to be just absolutely amazing everywhere.
Okay, let's move on now to, well, we spoke about Perez, didn't we? Now let's talk about your GOAT, Yuki Tsunoda, Tommy. And the question from Annalise Cameron was, did Yuki just miss a massive opportunity to outshine Perez and Daniel? I wouldn't say it was a massive opportunity, because let's also give some respect to Daniel Ricciardo in the sense that both V-carbs were in Q3, which is a great achievement for them. So it wasn't as if Yuki was going to go pop it in P4 and he's going to be this unsung hero. They were both there. So Daniel's done a good job as well. But Yuki's got the headlines for the wrong reasons, because it was a crash that... Are VCARB realistically going to be mixing it in with the top 4 teams? Not really.
No, they basically maximised what they could do, which is why it's so disappointing for Tsunoda, because could have easily just been 9th, ahead of Ricciardo again. Looks great for him. But there's no doubt that whatever you think about Daniel Ricciardo and his form recently, or even, you know, the last few years, he is a safe bet really for Red Bull. They know he's been there. He was probably the only person that's been comparable to Max throughout their whole career, maybe. And even if he doesn't, which I don't think he will, be anywhere near Max, it's better than what Perez is doing, bringing at the wall. And, you know, they can now argue that it's better than what Yuki's doing if he's going to have incidents or cause a bit of chaos.
For sure. And then basically there was another run, wasn't there, right at the end, which only swapped Ricciardo and Tsunoda around at the end, because they were all on sort of used tyres, and I'm not really sure what they were hoping for there, but maybe
it's
it was
a bit
just
of
in
a
case
weird
the
one.
track turned alive or something.
This is the problem with the tyre allocation. Sometimes it makes it great for the race and makes it exciting, but on that situation, it was very much annoying, like, you know, oh, why can't they just stick a set of softs on and we have this amazing shootout? But that is not Formula One, so.
It certainly isn't. Shout out to Sainz as well for out-qualifying Charles Leclerc. I know a lot of people will be like, Leclerc's washed again, but, you know, P6, no points are scored on Saturday or Friday. So tomorrow wins the race. What are we saying? Come on. Let's keep the hopes up.
That is very delusional.
Yeah, but Ferrari aren't anywhere near as quick as I was hoping they would be. Sainz obviously did a great job up in P4, but they're nowhere near mixing it with the front, which if they were it was going to happen at any track, I felt like Hungary would have been one of those that they could have delivered because of everything we've said about Monaco.
They don't look to have gone forwards or backwards, really. They're just kind of there. And it's disappointing, like, you know, for Charles, because we had this whole talk of like, oh, Carlos Sainz maybe was like doing really well, but Charles was doing really well. So, you know, just because Sainz is doing well doesn't mean Charles is doing bad. But like, Charles kind of the victim of the fact that he is. You think he's going to beat Sainz, so when he doesn't, you kind of be like, oh, what you like? Where's Charles? Yeah, what's going on? Where's his form gone?
Sure.
Yeah, fascinating stuff.
Because
Lots of storylines, and the race is beautifully poised. Once again, I feel like I say that every single weekend when we have qualifying, but it is. And maybe, just maybe, McLaren can start taking some inroads into the lead of Max Verstappen and Red Bull. But let's see. Hopefully we won't be doing another thumbnail for our race podcast of did McLaren bottle it part 2 or part 7 or whatever part we're on.
Should McLaren have won?
Yeah.
Every single thumbnail.
It literally feels like it is almost every single one. But anyway, thank you everybody for
Because
watching and listening. Thank you to everybody that said hello to us at Formula E as well and come and given us some love. We were on the main stage. That's why we missed part of qualifying, was because we were on stage at the time that it was happening. But a lot of you turned up anyway, which is amazing. So thank you so much for that. Tommy, what are your final thoughts, sir?
Final thoughts are... looking forward to being back on Twitch tomorrow, because it's been what feels like a very, very long time since we've done. We didn't do Silverstone, so it feels like a long time since we've done a watch along. So fingers crossed for another Hungary banger, because it does seem to deliver.
Hopefully for Perez.
Yeah, I'm kind of gutted we weren't live on Twitch for Silverstone, but also very happy I was there. I feel like I wish we could have a happy medium where we were live on Twitch just at a corner. That would be amazing. Anyway, thank you so much, everybody. See you soon. Lots of love. Bye.
Yeah, sure. Let's see what Peter Reserve think about the stuff that happened. Will he have any inside information about Sergio Perez? I don't know, but let's see.
Well, there you have it. 2 McLarens on the front row, Max Verstappen behind them in the Red Bull, Lando Norris on the pole, thousands of a second separated the three of them, virtually the same lap time. But Lando not only got the pole, because he was quickest, but also he did the time on his first run in Q3. He deserves it for that, if nothing else, because both Oscar and Max had second runs on another new set of soft tyres. Lando had run out of tyres. He went out on a scrub set. He went out last on track as well, and he waited to see if his time was going to get beaten, but neither were able to do so, and Lando was able to cruise back into the pits, not record a second time back end of Q3, and take the plaudits for his pole position. Very well-earned pole position too.
Oh, that's happened. Max Verstappen's car. Because he never went out after the red flag, after Tsunoda's stuff. His car wasn't on the third place when the other drivers, when Lando Norris and Piastri come in, so they had to push the car to that place. So that was something funny that happened.
Brilliant lap by Lando, and as we said yesterday, he's found that wonderful rhythm, and McLaren looking really agile and superb, particularly through Sector 2. Let's have a look at how Max and Lando squared up on sector times around the Hungaroring lap. And I put Max and Lando together because we got a McLaren and a Red Bull, so there's a comparison there. Shouldn't in any way detract from the performance of Oscar Piastri, who was absolutely stunning in the second run in Q3, as I say. So let's have a look through Sector 1. Lando 27.6, Max 27.4. So a little bit quicker through Sector 1, maybe partly accounted for by the slightly faster speed through the trap, speed through the air of the RB20 Red Bull, 305 versus 304. That trap is just before the braking area going into turn 1. And then they got another DRS zone coming out of turn 1 as well. So the Red Bull really good out of there. Going through the turn 2, pretty much of a muchness, and just before the braking area into turn 4, the very quick left-hander where Charles Leclerc shunted yesterday, absolutely back to par, as we saw yesterday. But it was Sector 2 that did the damage for Red Bull, and where Lando Norris showed his unbelievable feel and touch through slow corners, particularly curbed change of direction chicanes. There's a third gear chicane in Sector 2, and then it's followed by a short straight and then a faster fourth gear chicane. And McLaren absolutely out of this world through that section of road. Lando 26.382 on his first run in Q3 on that new set of soft Pirellis, and on his second run, by which time he'd found a couple of tenths through Sector 2, Max Verstappen 26.524. So that's still a sizable advantage in one sector for Lando Norris, and that could be a major advantage for him tomorrow in terms of tyre wear, tyre management. If he's got that sort of grip and traction advantage over the Red Bull, Max is going to have to work very hard to be close enough in the detection zone going into the last corner, which then gives you DRS through the pit straight and then out of turn 1. And that's assuming, of course, that he's in front of Oscar Piastri anyway. 2 McLarens could easily dominate this race tomorrow. Control this race is probably
not Oscar Piastri, but could
probably
try.
a better word. So incredible performance from McLaren. As we said yesterday, they look really, really strong. Red Bull have got upgrades here, and they look pretty good on the car. The car looked pretty good, but still, in terms of slow corners, turn-in, and traction out of slow corners, McLaren have the advantage. And so that's how they qualified. Lando Norris 15.227, Oscar Piastri 15.249, Max Verstappen 15.273. There was a wild 2 minutes 13 seconds right at the end of qualifying when Yuki Tsunoda brought out a red flag after crashing the Visa Cash App special. Both Max and Fernando Alonso, old stagers you could say, quickly got out of their cars and said, nah, we're not going to do much in those last 2 minutes. But it was interesting to see the 2 McLaren drivers eagerly lining up in the pit lane to try to go out to see if they could beat the other. Tremendous competition between the two. They're both on scrub sets of softs. Not much was likely to happen, but McLaren had to go along with it. And as it happened, nothing did occur. Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc similarly lining up in the pit lane to go out for a 1-lap burst, but again, didn't get a result. But in the case of Daniel Ricciardo, he did go out and he did manage to gazump his teammate because of that red flag and then because he went slightly quicker. So it worked for Daniel Ricciardo. Nothing changed in the last 2 minutes. Behind those first 3, really good performance. I was saying yesterday how well Carlos Sainz has been driving and how well he's been driving this weekend. Look at that, 15.696. Charles Leclerc 15.905, and I think that's representative of where Carlos has been all weekend. He's just been slightly quicker than Charles, and he's been doing it with less error as well. We've seen Charles again today, a few lockups, a few running wides. He got the time in, but it was a scruffy looking lap. Carlos Sainz looks like the class act at Ferrari. Carlos Sainz, the driver, of course, they're getting rid of at the end of the year. We won't go down that path yet again. Well, not for the time being anyway. Lewis Hamilton starts P5 on the back of his Silverstone British Grand Prix win. Disappointing day for Mercedes. Maybe they're still recovering from the shock of the whole CrowdStrike thing, and maybe that's had some impact on their software, who knows. And look where George Russell is. Didn't get out of Q1, had a moment. It was drizzly in Q1. They're all out on softs, no problem, slicks, but it was drizzly. He had a bit of a moment on his quickest lap, and then he didn't get a lap in after another red flag. So really disappointing day for George. And he was also shouting down the radio about the car not having enough fuel in right at the end of his run. And that's what it sounded like anyway. I hope that wasn't the case for Mercedes. They've had enough criticism when it comes to organisation and logistics in recent times. But if that did happen, and if George lost an opportunity to get through to Q2, Q3 because they didn't have enough fuel in the car, then I think we put that right up with Williams not bringing a spare chassis to the Australian Grand Prix this year.
True.
So Lewis Hamilton did a very good job. He was under pressure. He didn't get in great laps. There was a lot of traffic. It's very difficult to get a quick lap in at Hungary when you're following another car. A lot of debris coming out from under the car in front. And these cars are supposed to be easy to follow. Don't forget these new generation Formula One cars. But as we said yesterday, the Mercedes did not look the easiest of cars. Nothing like as agile and as chuckable and as comfortable to drive as a McLaren around the Hungaroring. But on this occasion, it's Ferrari with the slow corners of Hungaroring actually showing up Mercedes. We haven't seen that for a while.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Mercedes washed, hopefully forever, and then Ferrari. Good.
Leclerc in the other car 15.9. Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll did a pretty good job for Aston Martin to sort of drag those cars into Q3. Good operation during the difficult moments when it was maybe drizzling, when the track was reopening after red flag periods. Aston Martin on the ball there, doing a good job. And Fernando looking pretty good whenever he was out, but the pace obviously still not there in terms of slow corners, traction, and indeed, you've got to say fast corner balance as well. They have got some upgrades. The car's looking a little bit better, but still quite a way to go, even to be challenging Mercedes at this point. Daniel Ricciardo, good job. He did that time right at the end of Q3, as I say, to beat his teammate Yuki Tsunoda, who was just ahead of him, of course. But then Yuki had a big and inelegant shunt coming out of turn 5. Just kind of understeered mid-corner, and it was a little bit drizzly, and got onto the artificial grass on the exit and straight into the barrier. And did quite a lot of damage to the Visa Cash car. So
Visa Cash App RB Formula 1 team. Come on, Peter Visser. Easy name, easy life.
Yeah, not a good moment for Yuki Tsunoda. He looked pretty spiky all weekend around this circuit. Doesn't look quite as fluid as he has in recent times. Nico Hülkenberg, good job. Don't forget he had to give his car to Oliver Berman right at the beginning of practice yesterday, so he's done a good job. And as ever, looked very good when the conditions were dodgy. Valtteri Bottas too said something like, well, that's all I've got, when he got out of the car at the end of Q2 in the Sauber. A better performance, probably the best performance we've seen from Sauber in terms of qualifying for quite a long time. Alex Albon didn't get out at the right time. Williams, he was quite critical of the Williams organisation on the radio in not getting him out at the right time. When he was on his quick lap, he ran into a lot of cars who were on their out laps, and of course you can't do that on a circuit with the lap as short as it is at the Hungaroring and with so many slow corners. Logan Sargent, reasonably good job, and benefited significantly from the red flag brought out for Sergio Perez, because just after going P5 in Q1, he locked up at turn 1, went into the tyre wall and damaged the Williams, and Williams did a very good job of getting that car repaired during that red flag break and getting him out again. So full marks to the team for that, even if their logistics later on were a little bit ropey. And then we get to Sergio Perez, the driver that Peter Windsor said yesterday could have a very good result this weekend. He's been looking good. He went off in the drizzle on slicks in Q1, inexcusable for a driver of his experience. And I guess when I was saying yesterday that I thought he would go well, I wasn't thinking that it might be drizzly and he might be on slicks, in which case I wouldn't have said it, because that's not one of Sergio Perez's strong points.
True.
But I would say in his defence that before he went off, he had been only 1/10 slower than Max on his first run. Then Max went slightly quicker. He didn't come in for a new set of tyres. He went slightly quicker. He went about 2/10 quicker on the same scrub set of Pirelli softs. And Perez was behind him on the road, and I think he'd heard that time, and he was starting to go for it. He was quite quick in sector 1, and then he just lost it coming out of the third gear chicane that I was talking about earlier, where Lando Norris is so good. Just lost it, spun and crashed into the barrier. George Russell had a big moment there as well. It was greasy, there's no doubt about that, but George managed to contain the slide and hold it, as George would, whereas Sergio just completely lost the car and went backwards into the fence. Because Spa is next weekend, that's probably a good thing from Sergio Perez's point of view. I can't imagine that Red Bull, even if they're thinking now of replacing him with another driver, which I'm sure they are, they probably wouldn't do it before Spa, because there isn't time to do all that stuff. They might. But so it's a good thing that Spa is there from Sergio Perez's point of view. But I think this shunt today for Sergio could well be the last straw for Red Bull. He hasn't gone well ever since he re-signed for his long-term contract. If there's a performance clause in there in which he has to be X number of points within reach of Max Verstappen, then for sure he's not going to be able to fulfill that. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Sergio Perez now. That accident could not have come at a worse time, and obviously the car is pretty good now. We're right up there with the McLarens. Yeah, Perez wouldn't have done a 15.2, but he might have done a 15.8, 15.9, something like that, and he might have been up there with Lewis Hamilton and Charles Leclerc. So very disappointing for him, and disappointing for the two Alpine drivers, who apparently were told to stay in the garage at the back end of Q1 because they didn't think the track was going to get any quicker. There'd been a bit of drizzle, then there'd been the red flag, everybody went out, the track had got quicker, and neither of them got through to Q2. But with two drivers of that sort of talent, Pierre Gasly particularly good in with greasy, semi-wet conditions, and also Esteban Ocon, it seemed crazy that they didn't have the cars out there, so very difficult to understand what's going on there. Flavio Briatore, please advise. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. McLaren, with that wonderful grip advantage they've got in Sector 2, could well protect their lead without too much trouble and be able to look after their tyres in a way that Red Bull may not be able to. So that could well be the deciding factor tomorrow. So yeah, looking forward to that very much. In the meantime, big thanks to Jetcraft, to OAM Exclusive, and to Track Ninja, and to you, of course, the viewer. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow. I believe I got it. Picked this up one time before. Okay, that was that. Formula
reaction. So yeah, hopefully, man, I really hope Sergio Perez will have a good race tomorrow. But that we'll see. What more can happen? Maybe first point for stake F1 team kick Sauber. Let's see. Hopefully a bad race for Lewis Hamilton. Probably more points for Visa Cash App RB Formula 1 team. Oh, hopefully a good race for Charles Leclerc. Maybe a good race for Fernando Alonso. Oh, that will be something. Points for Williams and stake F1 team kick Sauber. But yeah. But I hope more for Sergio Perez to have a good enough car that he just can do something in the race. No, one more chicken. But yeah, I will end it here, so I can be ready for Formula 3 and Formula 2 and Formula 1. More tropical fish collection tomorrow. But until then, I will say maybe we wait, because I want to get to 1 hour. Let's see if I have something more data. Oh yeah, that I should maybe be saying. Let's put this on. Let's see. The qualifying. Yeah, beginner should finish 12, so he will have these cars before him again. Hopefully they will maybe try something. Manson tried a lot of stuff in the sprint race, so hopefully he will do it in the race also. That will make they crash out. Nothing at all, will have a slightly good race. But the good thing, Luke Browning, Mini and Lindblad is behind. Let's see, what can we see? I wanna see qualifying. So Paul Aaron, he will probably have a good race. Victor Martis need to have one more good race. And Antonelli will probably have a good race. Oliver Bama could also. Hopefully Bortoletto. Now I want to see him on the podium again. And Colapinto can maybe get some points. Yeah. Sergio Perez. That would be amazing. George Russell can't get past any car, but Sergio Perez can. Let that happen. Let that be how the race. I mean, I don't care podium, but at least P4 for Perez. That would be amazing. But that we will see tomorrow.